So this is the Yolocam S7. Here's the fancy box with all my fingerprints. It is a decently large-sized box. I'm not gonna lie, it's a large-sized box, but the reason why is because it not only holds the camera, but it's got all the other cables and gear inside of it as well. And what that basically means is you've pretty much got one of the best, honestly, one of the best 4K 60 webcams available. And I mean 4K 60, like this thing is phenomenal. Like not many webcams will do 4K 60. 4K 30, sure, yeah, you can get 4K 30, but the Yolocam S7, I'm gonna zoom in on this puppy. The Yolocam S7 is a 4K 60 webcam that not only outputs over HDMI, but it also outputs over USB as well. So if you have an Elgato Cam Link or some sort of HDMI capture card, personally, the Elgato Cam Link is something that I would probably not get. I would probably get the higher end ones like the 4KS and the 4KX, which right now I'm going to be using the 4K HD60S, which is a little bit of the older one, but it still works extremely well. It does do 4K video. But this camera can output over those streams simultaneously. So what is the benefit of that? What is the benefit of streaming over USB at the same time as being able to stream over HDMI on this camera? Well, there's several things. One is it could be a backup solution for you, right? If you run out of USB ports or whatever, like, and you have an HDMI thing, then great, you can use something like this. The other thing you could do is you could take that HDMI connection and output it to a HDMI to NDI adapter, for example. If you look on my YouTube channel, I've got a box that says better than the Cam Link. It's about the Zoe box, and the Zoe box is a tiny little power over Ethernet box which receives any type of video signal, whether it be internet type of a signal, SRT, RTSP, NDI, as well as HDMI signals, right? And it can also take a USB signal from a USB webcam, so UVC, and it can convert that and encode that back into other signals, whether it be HDMI, whether it be NDI signal, back to USB, and so forth. So it's kind of neat what that device can do, and this connects perfectly well with that. And so now the Zoe box, unfortunately, the normal Zoe box that I have right now, which is their first gen, that is only 4K 30. This camera, because it's 4K 60, you've got to get the Zoe Box Pro, which does up to 4K 60. But I don't have that one as of yet. So Zoe Box, if you are listening to this live stream or watching this live stream or the replay, call me, because I would love to be able to test some of your products out. Now, another cool thing with this camera, because of those dual types of output connections, is that you can output USB to one computer and HDMI to another computer. And of course, that HDMI is going to need a capture device, right? Now, when you're doing that, that means you could have two different live streams. You could have two different computers receiving the exact same signal out of this camera, and you don't need any additional gears or HDMI splitters to be able to do that. And so that's really, really nice. Now, one thing to keep an eye on, though, is that if you decide to put this one over HDMI, right? So let's say, for example, you're going to use this HDMI output port on the bottom here, and you're going to send that to your computer system using some sort of a capture device. Again, I'd mentioned the Elgato series. Now, the thing is, you still need to connect it by USB to that computer. And the reason why is because you're going to be running the Yololiv software. So it's called Yololiv Compose. And that software is needed to be able to configure this camera, because as you see, this camera, other than this button to release the lens, there are no other buttons. So you can see here's the top, here's the back. These are just ports. So this is a power port, this is your USB port, and this is your HDMI port, and this is a 3.5 millimeter for a microphone to be able to put it in here. There's the bottom, there's the side, which is a 1/4 inch 20 thread mount point, and a little cold shoe adapter there. And that's it. So what does that mean? What do you actually need to be able to configure this? It's the software, and that's how you're going to use this thing. So with regards to that, let's now connect this. And by the way, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer those questions about how this camera works, what you can do with it. And we're actually going to run a live test Right now, cross my fingers, if it goes to the backup computer, we're safe. But cross my fingers, this actually works, all right? So let's take a quick gander and look at the types of connections first. So as I had mentioned, actually, you know what? Before that, do that. Let me just show you how this works. So for example, this is the Yololiv. This is their new lens. This is an 18 millimeter f1.4 lens. So you can see that here. It's an f1.4 18 mil. Now, because this camera is not APS-C, it's not full frame. This camera is in fact a micro four thirds or an MFT lens. So the crop factor is actually 2 times. So if you are looking for example, a 50 millimeter full frame equivalent, which is about what the eye kind of sees, the angles of what the human eye sees, then you've got to get a 25 millimeter. But this one here is an 18 mil. So when you multiply 18 millimeters by 2, because of that crop factor, the crop sizing of that micro four thirds sensor, you multiply that by 2. So it's actually the equivalent of a 36 millimeter lens. And if you think about it, that's actually around like a typical 35 millimeter full frame lens, which is a gorgeous, very common lens to use for most types of photography. So this will give you a little bit of a wider angle and a wider look. It's not like, it's if you guys use the Sonys, right? A lot of the APS-C sensors like the Sony ZV-E10, the ZV-E10 Mark II, the FX30, those different types of cameras that have the APS-C sensor, not the full frame sensor, then you would be looking at a lens of about 24 to 25 millimeters because actually 24 millimeters, excuse me, because the APS-C crop factor is 1.5 times. So you'll take your 24 mils times 1.5, so add 12, so that's 36 as well. So this 18 millimeter MFT lens is the equivalent range, or the width, I'm going to call it the angle of view, is going to be equivalent to around a 24 millimeter APS-C lens. So your Sony ZV-E10, if you're going to replace that and you're using, let's say, a 16 mil lens, well, that's actually only equivalent of a 24 millimeter full frame. And that is actually wider, much wider than this one. So if you happen to have the famous Sigma 16 millimeter f1.4, this will not be as wide as that one. So just do keep that in mind. Now, the 16 millimeter f1.4, don't get me wrong, that Sigma lens is sharp and it's very affordable in terms of the pricing of that lens. However, what I've found is that for me, it's a little bit too wide. I find that it shows a little bit too much of my background, of myself, and the lens has got to be pretty close, like less than 1 arm's length. But you'll see right now on this one, I'm using a 30 millimeter lens, and I still can't even reach the lens, but I like the way this looks. It also doesn't warp my face to make the center of my face, larger, because a lot of wide angle lenses do that. So I find that this 18 millimeter lens is quite good because of that 35 millimeter equivalent for the full frame. Now, what's awesome about this Yolocam S7 is that because it's a micro four thirds camera, it is also compatible with many different MFT or micro four thirds lenses, namely this extremely popular one, which is Panasonic Lumix, and it's the 25 millimeter f1.7 lens. Now, I bought this lens, I'm in Canada, by the way. I bought this lens for, I think, $75. $75. That is not a lot of money. That's literally only, what is that, 50, 60, 65, maybe $60 American, right? $55 to $60 American. That is very affordable for this lens and of this quality. So I'm also going to be swapping this Yololiv 7, what is it? What did I just say? 18 mil, right? I'm going to be swapping this one out for the for this 25 millimeter. Yeah, this is the Yololiv. This is the 18 mil f1.4, right? So I'm going to swap them both out. But let's go take a look at how this is going to get connected. So I am going to first give it a shot over the USB connection. So what you'll see on the back is you'll see this guy here. It's got a little battery symbol on it. So this is your power port. Now this camera, I'm going to say, is pretty hungry. You can't put it in just a regular USB port. You do need to give it a lot of juice. So you do have to use a power delivery or PD source that is at least, I believe, 25 to 30 watts. I'll have to double check on that one. This one here is the Type-C USB 3 port. You do need to make sure that you use a high speed, high quality USB-C data cable for this one. This guy up here, you can use a charging cable. Doesn't matter. No data is necessary. But this guy over here is definitely going to need the data cable. All right. And then this one's your HDMI port. And then, as I said, this is a microphone port here. I'm not going to be touching the microphone port today. So I am going to connect let's just make sure. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the power cable. I hope this is the power cable. Yeah, it's the power cable. All right, and the first thing you start to notice is that one of these lights just start turning on. I think it's this guy here. All right, so this is flashing right now, which means it's in boot up mode. It does take about, I'm going to say 15 to 30 seconds to fully boot up, and that's completely fine. It's not, it's pretty respectable for, a high-end camera like this one, but it does have to boot up. All right, so that's that first. And also make sure when you boot it up or plug it in for power, make sure there's a lens connected. I found out that if you don't connect the lens to the camera and you plug it in, the software doesn't like it. So don't do that, all right? We want to make sure that the software is happy because it's your friend. All right, now the other end of this guy here is this cable. It's going to be this one here is my favorite cable, by the way. This is an Apple Thunderbolt cable. This here alone, I think is over $200. And I got the 10-footer. All right, so this guy here, we're going to plug that into the data port. All right, now, once we have these two puppies plugged in, what's going to end up happening is you are going to see that the Yololiv Compose software says, hey, we've now detected a camera. Do you want to connect it? Oh, by the way, let me just show this first as well. You see this port here? This is the 1/4-inch 20-thread port. See, it's on the bottom. If you mount it, it means that it's going to be vertical. Right? This camera can be used as a vertical source or scenes or videos, right? So you can totally do that. But to turn this to a horizontal format, you actually need to use their angle adapter. So that is the 1/4-inch 20 thread, and you're going to put that on the bottom of this camera. Actually, sorry, it's this other way. You're going to put that on the bottom of this camera. So it looks like that. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and just screw that in right now. Definitely got some fat fingers for this. Okay, hold on. This is very uncomfortable. All right. Okay. All right. We have that connected now. So you can see here, this is on my little tripod. All right. Now, let's see what we can do to get this connected. So I'm just going to extend the legs on this tripod. Let's make some space. Oh, all right. Okay. Are you ready, software? So now I've got the camera in front of me, right? So you can see that. Now I am going to go ahead and take a look at the software here. So it says, hey, you want to connect this now? So go ahead and confirm that. And voila, it shows the device source. But take a look at this. This is out of the box experience. This is actually sideways, right? So what you need to do is you need to go into video setting and you need to turn this horizontally. And then I can go up to 60 frames per second and outputting HDMI at 4K. So it just depends on the camera or whatever the software that you're using, right? Now I don't have a ball head on this, so I'm just gonna have to angle this a bit. You guys are gonna be looking at my nose. All right, so here is the camera quality that's coming out of this camera. Now I'm just going to switch over to this camera in the main scene so you can see this. Let's see. This is now going to be this guy. Nope. All right. So now you can see that I've got this Yololiv S7 coming out. Now it's pretty sharp. Now you see the blurriness from the background of the curtain and the TV, the touchscreen TV display. That's natural bokeh. That's coming from this camera. It is completely natural, as you can see. Now, in terms of this lens, this is now I'm holding this at arm's length. And you can see, you know, I would like to be a little bit further from this. So if I were to go like this is about, I'm going to say it's about 3 feet now from me. And this is quite comfortable for me in terms of the, you know, the way that everything looks. And I'm just going to go, my microphone's a little far. Right. So I like the way this camera definitely looks, and the bokeh is wonderful. Right. So you can go ahead and get the S7, plug it in by USB, and all of a sudden you can just start using it straight out of the box. Let me just refill this. Okay. You can use it straight out of the box. And this lens, as I said, this is the 18 mil. This is going to look pretty good. Now, the cool thing about this camera is that the focus is a phase detection autofocus, but it uses an external sensor. It's not on the lens itself. It's beside the camera. And I'm just going to show you that right now. You can see here on the side of that camera. Now, a lot of people think, oh, this hump here is so you can hold it. This is not a handheld camera. You do not hold this camera with your hand. But what you do is there's obviously a lot of the electronics and internals in here, right? So this here is an external phase detection line. What is it called? Time of sight autofocus sensor. So don't block this or else your autofocus isn't going to work. So if you do happen to block it, that's going to be obviously a problem. So let's go back here and let's switch to this camera. Well, here we go. All right. So now, out of the box, I'm going to say that I've got my lighting set at 4,000 Kelvin. So I'm looking a little bit yellow. So let's switch up this software. Let's switch things up a little bit. And let's see what we've got. So we've got image setting. And we've got a color profile. So we've got 2 different color profiles. We have a Canon profile. Oh no, the Sony profile is gone. But we can go ahead and adjust any of those things to make it look a little bit different. If I wanted to decrease the saturation, which I think it's a little bit too much. So if I just slide that over, see now all of a sudden I'm in black and white. Maybe it's just a little bit too much. I'm going to leave it just a couple notches below. You can see that there is a setting for distortion. So look at the corners and the edges. Because of this type of lens, it's going to have a little bit of barrel distortion. And so this obviously corrects that. Now, it might not be available necessarily on every single camera or lens that comes with this, but definitely on the 2 that I have here, it's 100% worked. All right. And then the other one is vignetting. Okay, so I don't understand exactly why this lens has this, but if you notice that the edges go a little bit darker. I'm gonna embiggen this here. You guys can see that. So look at the corners here. Look at this corner here. You can kind of see it darken a little bit. And in some cameras or some scenes that I show, it actually darkens quite a bit. I don't know what it's for, to be honest with you, but I leave it enabled because I don't want that dark vignetting happening. Hey, what's going on? George! Oh my gosh, George. Good to see you, my friend. I don't have any prizes for you to win today. Sorry, man. And Brad, it's been ages, man. It's so good to see you. So good to see you. I trust that everything is well and things are good. All right, so let's go back. So that is the image setting on this camera. I can obviously change the autofocus, and you can see that there's obviously continuous focus. This one here is where you set the focus. So you can click on the different part of the scene inside of the software, and the camera will focus on that. So if I click on my face, it's there. Now, what's nice about this is if you are doing some, or you or somebody else in your studio wants to change that focus manually, you can just go ahead and boop, click on the person's face or click on, the background, and all of a sudden make those changes. But what you'll notice here is look at the speed. Look at the speed of the autofocus or the change in focus. That is extremely fast for this type of camera. And then obviously if you hit face, what you'll notice is that it will detect my face and it will basically autofocus based on that, right? So, and then obviously you can do manual focus. So if you wanted to go too close, too far, etc. So we'll just leave that there. You can change the focus speed. There is lens. What does that say? Lens calibration. I don't know what that one is. I'm just going to leave that. I don't know. I don't want to play with that one. You can go and change the zoom as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just change the zoom. And what you can start to see is just how good this camera actually can be. So now you guys are watching this at 1080p. I have 4K, but it's not on right now. Actually, let me just see what I can do. I'm going to go here and change. And see, can I force this to 4K? Ooh, I just forced it to 4K. I wonder if it's going to be any sharper for you guys. Can you see any sharpness? I'm forcing it now in Ecamm, so you guys can see. Let me see here. Let me go into demo mode. You guys can see here that inside of the camera effects window, I can scroll down on most cameras that offer 4K, and if you're not in if your streaming size is not set to 4K, you can force that camera to 4K. What that does is it allows you to use the pan and zoom function without any loss, up to a certain point, because when you're cropping in on that 4K video at a 1080p, you can get up to 2x zoom. So anyway, just a little bit of a trick there. All right. All right. So let's use this software to zoom, and let's see where I start to lose quality. And that's it. 4x zoom. And I got to say, to me, that looks kind of sharp. I got to be honest with you. It looks pretty darn sharp. Now, sorry for all of you who just got a fright and a scare because of that close video. But yeah, that's basically what the zooming in looks like. All right, so let's go back to the software. Let's see who else is with it. All right, Greg, what's going on, my friend? Hello, and Technicom Media. Technicom Media, what's your first name? I can't remember. I've seen you before on my live streams, but also I've seen you other places. I want to know where you're calling in from, or what your name is. All right. So let's go take a look at the rest of the software here. We've got the zoom. We've got manual exposure that I can do. So right now it's on. Ooh, it was like, okay, so that's automatic. White balance is on automatic. And then obviously audio settings, which I'm not going to do. And then HSL correction, which I'm not going to go through. What's the reference? The native camera setting of Ecamm camera settings. What's the preference? The native camera settings or the Ecamm camera settings? Oh, that's a really good question. I personally would always change camera settings on the camera. Always, 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 always. And the reason why is, what if you're recording on the camera as well as in the software? If it's only the software, then great. You can do it inside of Ecamm camera settings or camera effects. But here's the thing, is that if you, let's say, for example, are using Ecamm Live, or Ecamm, excuse me, if you're using Ecamm for your productions, but let's say you don't want to use Ecamm virtual camera at one point. Let's just say you want native zoom to connect directly to the camera because you don't want to run the software, right? Two pieces of software. So once you do that, Zoom is going to see your normal camera, right? The normal camera settings. So let's just pretend that you have, one of the LUT types of profiles on your camera, right? And you're using Ecamm Live with the built-in functionality for LUTs, and your Ecamm Live recordings and streams look phenomenal. But once you use, let's say, Zoom or another application which connects directly to that camera, then things are going to look gray, right? So that's one reason why you might not use the camera effects inside of Ecamm. However, Ecamm does have a virtual webcam. So if you're totally okay with running Ecamm at any given time, every time you want to use that camera, then go ahead, do it. But knowing that if you take that camera and move it to another computer, you also have to recorrect all of those different types of camera effects as well. So I'm going to say that most of the time, I would probably say 99% of the time, I don't use the camera effects. Like in terms of the adjustments for the color settings and stuff like that, I use pretty much always on camera as much as possible. All right. So how I set my cameras up is obviously I'm always in manual. So on my main cameras, this camera here is just a OBSBot Tiny 3 because it can follow me and do funky things. But my main camera that I normally use in front of me is the Sony ZV-E10 with a 30mm f1.4 Sigma lens, but that one's always in manual mode for all of the exposure settings. So ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. And I leave it on the standard color profiles. I don't change anything on there. So that's how I set that up. Very, very, very good question. Let's see. What else did you just ask here? Oh, it's Michael. Oh, yes. Oh, dude. Hey, let Luis know I said hi. Awesome. Where are my comments? Oh, it's on the other screen. So that's the question I just answered. So that's cool. Awesome, man. Great questions, Michael. All right. Now, obviously, this is super close again. All right. Let's go back to the software here. Now, one cool thing that the software does have is this thing here called AI parameter, right? AI parameter. So what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to analyze the scene. And it's supposed to say, okay, we're going to correct the white balance. So what it does is it takes something in the middle, takes something on this side, takes something on that side, and then it takes the exposure and does something on this side, something on this side, something on that side, and so forth. So it's supposed to be pretty darn good. Now, personally speaking, I'm looking at myself and I'm like, okay. So if I switch to this camera and I add, let's say, my front camera, let's do boom, 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 boom. Nope, camera. Nope. Where is that other camera? There it is. Okay. I think the Yolocam, which is the one I'm shaking right now, looks a little bit more on the yellow side, whereas the one on the left looks, I think I have a little bit more blood inside of me. So, so what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and, ooh, let's option this one. Oh, crap. I'm going to leave that like that. All right. Now I'm going to go into the software and I'm going to go ahead and run this wizard, right? This AI parameter wizard. So let's go ahead and click Start. And it says, okay, blurring, I like high blur. So it's always going to open up the aperture as much as possible. And now I'm just going to place myself. I have to crouch a little bit because I didn't put up a high enough tripod here. But I'm just going to stand here and I'm just going to wait. So hit confirm. And this should start analyzing the entire frame using some artificial intelligence and says, okay, what is the correct exposure? What is the correct white balance? And it goes, and what it does is it just says, okay, which one do you like? 1, 2, or 3? I think each of these are more of the exposure level. So it's probably either ISO or, you know, part of ISO and frame rate to change the brightness and the darkness. I kind of like option 3. So I'm going to go ahead and pick option number 3 and then go ahead and click confirm. And I got to make sure I stay in the exact same place. And the software is going to continue to analyze more. And now this is obviously hue or white balance. And these are really bad. It looks like I'm probably on death's doorstep on the left side here. So on the right side, I'm going to confirm number 3. So this is now, I've spoken to folks at Yololiv and they say they're always improving. And they always are. Trust me, they always are. But I'm going to say this one, oh, that's actually not bad. What do you guys think? The big face on the right or the Sony on the left? What do you guys think in the comments? Let me know. Let me know. What do you think is the more accurate one? Now, of course, this is going to depend on what type of screen you have, right? Because if you are on a MacBook or if you have a Mac Studio display or things like a Mac, an Apple-made display, then that's color accurate out of the box. Like it's so accurate, it's not even funny. And that's one of the reasons why they're so expensive. But if you have any other kind of manufacturer made, and it's not specifically meant to be color accurate out of the box, and it's not just the Adobe blah, 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 or whatever, I forget what it's called. There's different letters for those, but the color accuracy is not going to be great. But you want to be as close as possible. But I see Greg says, likes the one on the left. Very cool, Greg. I kind of like the one on the left. I think the one on the right, the YOLO right now, is a little bit, I'm going to say I'm looking pale, if that makes sense. Did I look a little pale? So if that's the case, let me go ahead and let me edit this. So what I can do is I can go into HSL and I can go ahead and change some of that, right? Let's see. George says they're really close, but the color on the left looks more natural. See, that's what I think as well, right? And this is what Greg said also, chose the left side. So, so I can go in here, and if I say, let me know, what do you think? Is it just I'm too pale? I need a little bit more blood, a little bit more vibrancy. What do you think? Let me know. I think I'm going to add a little bit more red. Now, if I do 0 red, that's bad. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay. I'll add a little bit there. I'm not going to add any orange. I think I'm going to do a little bit more saturation, to be honest with you. And a little bit. I don't know what 16 means. So it's 100. So maybe it's percentage adding. That's pretty good. I'm going to turn down, I think, the magenta, because I've got that little bit of a gray, blue, purple tint to it. Wow, look at that. The luminance as well. You can, oh, this is so good. So many cool features in the software. I know that this is a new update to the software, by the way. This is a recent update that they have. And let's go, I don't know. The hue is going to be, I want less purple. So let's do, oh, I see. Okay, you see the lights in the background? It's actually, they are kind of purpley blue. And then let's do a little bit less magenta. And let's go a little bit more on the yellow side. And a tad bit there. Just a tad, just a bit. I'm going to be like Bob Ross. Just a little bit. We're just going to paint a little bit over here. And that's pretty good. Yeah, so on the saturation side of things, we're going to add a little bit more red. Just a little bit here. Just dab that in. And then let's do a little bit less green and a little bit of less blue. Oh, no. Actually, let's leave blue a little bit higher because I want this background to kind of be punchy as well. That's pretty good. I mean, I personally think that it needs a little bit more saturation. Oh, maybe the white balance is off as well. No, that's 4,000. That is true. The blue offset, the red offset, tone. Let's just see what happens with tone. Ooh, oh, here we go. There we go. So we're getting a little bit more natural. I'm going to say it's still, it's kind of maybe a little bit darker. Let's go to manual exposure. Let's change the ISO to 400 and let's see what that looks like. All right. Oops. That's wrong camera. What do you guys think? That's pretty darn good, right? Let me change this camera. Oop. Now that's pretty good. I gotta say, I kind of like this. You know, you can still see the bokeh, and that TV screen with the C over there is probably about 5 feet behind me. So you can see that the bokeh is pretty darn nice. I do like that, I gotta say. Now, I'm gonna do something. I hope it doesn't mess things up, but I'm gonna change the lens on this one. What you're gonna see is a big error on the software. Let's do this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take the lens off. Here, you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm going to expand this one. Oh, actually, I should probably, just in case, I should pull out the Panasonic lens. Now, the Panasonic lens is roughly the same size as this, this lens from Yololiv. But let's see, please don't crash. Okay, you see, if you don't have a lens installed, then you get that funky error. right? By the way, here's the lens differences. So the one on my left hand is the one from Yololiv, and that's the 18 mil. And the one on the right is the 25 millimeter Panasonic Lumix lens. All right, so the Lumix is a little bit shorter, and from the barrel size, it's actually pretty much the exact same. So let's, before this thing panics and freaks out, let's connect this. Now, this should be closer. Is this closer? Kind of looks the same to me, to be honest with you. What do you guys think? Is this the same, or is it just me? No, it's closer. Oh, it's definitely closer now. Okay. Because I got to scooch even lower to be able to make it look right. Closer, closer. Yeah, they're really close, but the color on the left looks more natural. I think that's just about right. So let's switch back to this camera. So you can see here now, to almost get the exact same kind of look, I don't think I can extend this microphone anymore. I've got to step back pretty darn far. I am now 4 feet from the lens. Now, so remember, this 25 millimeter is the equivalent to a 50 millimeter lens, which means that this is pretty much what the natural human eye sees. So you'll see that my face looks a little bit different, just slightly different. If I had a really wide lens and I kept the same composition, then definitely it's going to look, my face is going to look a little bit warped and weird. But this lens you can see here is a really, really good lens. Now I just need to add a little bit of ISO. And all of a sudden, you'll see that the quality of this lens is phenomenal for literally $60, right? Better picture. You like that picture better, eh, Greg? That's cool. I gotta say, this is a really good lens. It's a phenomenal lens. Now, don't get me wrong, that Yololiv 18 mil is phenomenal as well. And I believe, if I'm correct, that you either get the lens with the camera or it's an extra $100 for the lens. Now, the one thing that you need to know is if you do happen to get the S7, don't just get any MFT lens. Not all of them work. And if you scour the internet, you'll find out people are like, oh, my MFT lens doesn't work on it. Because even though Yololiv made the S7 to be compatible with MFT lenses, I'm going to say that I think they're in progress of working to get full certification for the MFT standard. Right? And when you have that certification for the MFT standard, it means that all the lens manufacturers have also followed that standard, which means that everything should just be plug and play and just you're off to the races. But if you are, I guess they might be in the process of getting some of that done. So if that's the case, then definitely you will know that when you plug in your MFT lens and it doesn't work, that's probably what ended up happening. It's just that you got an incompatible lens for the time being. So do keep that in mind. So I switched back to the 18 mil YOLO, and it's a little bit closer. So you can see the width or the wideness difference. So now I'm about 8 inches closer, maybe 10 inches closer to the lens. But you can see here, all of a sudden you can see the C and the R in Creator Tech Lab. Like before it was like this, right? So if you took that kind of a view and zoomed in, that's what it looks like, because I was a heck of a lot closer. I would say it looks almost like this. Okay. Cool. That's pretty cool. What question? Oops, crap. What questions do you guys have about this camera? Any questions? Pretty nice. It's a pretty nice camera. And so one of the things I'm going to be doing with this one is I'm going to be bringing it back into my usage in the studio, because one of the great things about this is you just saw it. I didn't touch the camera other than changing the lens, connecting it, and powering it on with, by putting the cables in. I didn't touch the camera at all. So what does that mean? It means full configuration by software. And that's key. Like, you don't have to go behind your desk and reach over and play and plug it around, or you don't have to ask someone in your family or a friend to say, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you just go sit in front of my camera and just don't move, because I'm going to be playing around with the settings. You're changing ISO, you're changing frame rate, you're changing all of that type of stuff, right? You don't have to do that with this camera because it's all done inside of the software. right? And by doing it inside of the software, it makes it so convenient because this is all you do. So you can just leave the camera where it is. Now, because it's also, remember, it's an MFT lens and it is compatible with most micro four thirds lenses. So if you have an even longer zoom lens, like maybe a 50, an 85, or even a 100 millimeter micro four thirds lens, remember, double it, that's the equivalent for the full frame. What ends up happening is you could have this camera at a distance, somewhere mounted somewhere in your studio, a little bit further, and you don't have to keep walking back and forth to make those adjustments. You can do it all inside of the software. Now, of course, you can set it fully to manual if you'd like, and then never have to worry about that type of stuff at all. But really, when you have that capability of changing the camera settings from afar, all of a sudden it's game over. Like it just makes a huge, huge difference, to be honest with you. And so I know that with Sony lenses or Sony cameras that you can install the software on your phone and make those changes as well. But to be honest with you, it's not every setting, right? It may be most of the settings that most of us use, but it's not necessarily every setting. And it's also very complex, those cameras. Now, from a pricing perspective, I believe that this camera, let me switch back. I believe this camera is significantly less costly than other cameras, right? Because some people are going to ask me this question. Well, what is it equivalent to? All right. Well, it is equivalent to, let's see. Let's change the postal code so we get some. That's the only postal code I remember. So let's do this. So Yololiv S7. $800. That's what exactly. Perfect. Okay, so that's exactly what it was. You can see it's $699 with just the body. So if you have your own lenses, you can go ahead and install those micro four thirds lenses on that camera body. Or if you want the lens with it and that 18 millimeter f1.4, which is the equivalent to a 35-36 full frame lens. And if that's okay for you, so you can see I did a talking head, right, thing. So it's very similar to this kind of style, but I had to stand probably, I'm going to say about 4.5 feet away from the lens to be able to have this kind of the same composition. Right. So to have that composition, that camera does need to be a little bit more of a distance away from you. All right. So just keep that in mind that the 18 millimeter is good, but it's not a one that you can touchy. All right. So that's $799 for that, which is quite good. Right now, if I go ahead and if I BH photo video. So if I go here and I go look for, let's say, Sony ZV E10. I don't know if they sell the Mark 1 still. Let's see if they do. They do. All right, so you've got the same body. You've got a body at $698, but now you either are going to connect that camera to your computer system by USB, which means you only get 720p video out of it. Or if you want 1080p or 4K, then you're going to have to buy a good capture card. And that capture card, to capture, this camera with good quality, you're probably going to be looking at the Elgato lineup. I don't recommend the Camlink. I just don't. Okay, they tend to die very quickly, and they also, in my experience personally, I've never been able to really get a good 4K signal out of that. It's basically losing frames. But on the 4K S and the 4KX, love it. It's so good. And I'm going to show you actually what that looks like out of this camera very shortly, because I'm going to connect this one by HDMI to the HD60X over there. I don't think I can get 60 FPS off of that capture device, though. That's the only difference. But so now with this Sony ZV-E10, you're going to take your $700 price and you're going to add another at least $100 to $150, maybe $200 for a 4K capture device. Now, what I love about the Elgato series is that they are uncompressed videos. So you actually do get the highest level of quality coming out of that HDMI camera and that signal to that Elgato, and it's sending an uncompressed signal to your computer system. That's why they tend to be a little bit picky when you're using them on different types of USB hubs. You really should be using a Thunderbolt hub for that Elgato Camlink or the HD60S or the 4KS and the 4KX, or connect it directly to the computer itself. But so now you've got 7, 8, $850. But now if you want a lens for that, well, you're going to be adding, let's say, for example, Sigma 30 millimeter f1.4 Sony E mount. There you go, $340. So that's $340, and the 16 millimeter is a little bit less costly. 16 millimeter is skyrocketed. Okay, $400. So let's just say $350. Okay, let's just go in the lower end, $350. So if you look at $350 plus, we said $800 or $700. So that's now $1,050. You're more than the S7. The S7, remember, with the lens, you were looking at $799, $800. So now you're looking at a lot more expensive. Double that in Australia. Double everything in Australia. Michael, sorry, this is Bowles promo. Yeah, sorry. This is funny. Pricing, double it in Australia, and chances of dying from some sort of an animal because everything made in Australia is designed to kill you. I don't know why. Why is that, Australia? I want to go. I want to visit, but I don't like getting bit by things and stung by things. Anywho. So these are some pretty big prices. Now, if you go for the ZV-E10 II, Greg's got already several Sony lenses. Perfect. Yeah. So if you've got them, then go for it. Go for it. But, if somebody was looking for a new camera that was a lot easier to configure and to be able to utilize, and they're just, maybe upgrading from a USB webcam, right? Like maybe they're upgrading from an OBSBot or a Insta360 USB webcam. Like you can see here, this is quite the good video. Let me see what happens when I do this. Oh, I can't change this into 4K because this is over NDI right now. But like, this is a really good USB webcam. Now the OBSBot Tiny 3, which is what that one is I want to say it's about $200 US, hitting closer to $3+ on the Canadian border side of things. But that is a higher end webcam, and it's really good. It's going to be utilized by a lot of people. And of course, with the Tiny 3, you get the good old PTZ. Now, I've also got other PTZ cameras from OBSBot, namely the Tail 2, which is a beautiful beast of a camera, but very, very pricey, over $1,000 per camera. But those ones are really good. And I'll talk about that on another show in the future. But yeah, so, you're looking at, and like what other kind of cameras are equivalent to the S7? I would say definitely the Sony ZV-E10. I would say don't even try to compare it to like the FX30, and definitely don't compare it to full frame lens cameras. But you could look at something like some of the lower end Canons as well. But still, you're going to be looking at probably more price or the same, right, than what you're getting from this camera. And again, one of the biggest features that this camera has is that software that allows you to configure the camera from another location. So let's see here. Okay, there you go. If you want the Sony ZV-E10 with the kit lens, which is a 16 to 50 millimeter lens, you're looking at $800. So that's the same price as the S7. Now, the thing is, the S7 has the 18 millimeter f1.4 lens. So you get that beautiful blurry background, that bokeh. But on this guy, you're not getting bokeh on this f3.5 to 5.6. You're just not going to get it unless you put it all the way at the end of the 50 mil range and you put the camera probably about, I'm going to say maybe 8 to 10 feet away from you, and you open it up as much as possible to 5.6, because 5.6 can still give you that bokeh, give you that blurry background, but what'll happen is the camera needs to be further away. Right, so that's why long lenses like 300 mils, you can get a lot of bokeh if you're 20, 30, 40, 50 feet away from the individual, even if it's an f4.0, f5.6 kind of a lens. So I gotta say, the S7, I would say overall is not a comparable camera, because there is no comparable camera to it. It really is in a class in its own. So if you are using a USB webcam, if you are using a built-in webcam to your computer system, and you're looking for something that's easy to use and you don't have to fiddle with all the different dials and the buttons and the menu items that most mirrorless and DSLR cameras have, and you want to save a little bit of cash so that you can invest in other types of gear, then definitely the Yololiv S7 is my recommendation for that. And no other manufacturer at this current time makes an equivalent. So yes, now let's go and do something cool. Let's connect this by the HDMI cable. All right, so I'm going to leave the USB cable in there because that allows me to use the software, right? So let me do that, and then I'm going to go and just switch this HDMI thing on. So you can see here. Where's my overhead? Okay, so all I've got to do is take the HDMI cable now and plug it into that port, all right? So I already have the other end of the camera plugged into an Elgato HD60X or HD60S, one of those two. I can't remember what it's called. And so now let's see. Okay, here you go. You can see inside the software. Oh, is that it? What's it showing? Is it showing demo mode? That's not right. Here we go. Okay, so inside of the camera switcher, you can see all the different camera sources that are available. Let me embiggen that for you guys. And what you will notice is that I've got my close-up camera. That's the above head camera. I've got the Elgato HD60X and the one right below it, right? The one right below it is the USB feed. Look at the speed, right? Look at the speed of these two. You can see it's the exact same speed, right? And so that means the HDMI signal is coming out and the USB signal is coming out really, really good. I'm going to say the delay is very minuscule. You can see here the one that says front. That one is that one's NDI. So that's the HDMI camera connected to an NDI adapter or a Zoe box, right, which converts that to NDI. And then the OBSBot is the Tiny 3 connected to an OBSBot UVC to NDI adapter. So the front and OBSBot are both NDI videos. But look at the signal. Look at the speed. You'll notice that front camera is the slowest because it's processing a lot of information at 4K, and it's going to be a little bit slower over that network. But you'll see here, compare the one that says Elgato HD60X to the front one. You'll see there that even though the HDMI signal on the top one is 4K, it's coming in nicely. It's coming in hot. It's coming in very, very good speed. Let me switch this over. Let's do this. Let me see if I can. Oh yeah, it is at 4K. Yeah. So these two lenses here, or these two signals, are the exact same camera, and you can see they can go in two different places. All right. So that is kind of cool. Let's see here. All right. It says I've got the Tail 2. Whatever OBSBot invents to upgrade that, in its next version, Tail 3 will be, in my opinion, the best price camera ever. Dude, I've got 3 Tail 2s, and I love these cameras. There's a couple quirks. That I'd like them to figure out. But overall, I've just had an amazing time with those Tail 2s, and I've got 3 of them. So I'm probably going to end up selling a couple of them just so that I can, because I'm not using them as much anymore, but it depends on the different types of events that I'm doing next. But yeah, man, if they've got the Tail 3 coming out, I don't know what they could do. Like, how can they improve it other than maybe giving it a even longer optical zoom, maybe beyond the 5x optical, and maybe going up to 10. Now, once they get to 10 or 20x optical zoom, now they're playing into the big leagues of a lot of the Panasonics and the Sonys, and then what's the other one? I forgot the other PTZ camera. Really, really happy people running the company. Anyway, there's those ones, and those are pretty darn good. I do like those. But if OBSBot can go ahead and do a Tail 3, with 10 or maybe even a 20x optical zoom, oof, boy, oh boy, it's going to be really, really good. The biggest quirk, hey, let me know what your biggest quirk is. The biggest quirk for me on the Tail 2 is when I'm using them over NDI, because most of my video sources are done over NDI. The fan goes on so loud. So I can't use that in close proximity to my microphone. And then at on-site events, when I use the Tail 2 and I'm using NDI, right, I always use the Ethernet connection. And so when you're using the Ethernet, what you're doing is you're also powering the camera so that it's not draining the battery, so it lasts, hours and hours and forever, basically. But what happens is the camera's overheating now because it's charging at the same time and it's running at 4K. And so what that does is it really heats up the camera, and so the fans just go on, and people don't like that. People, I've heard people in the on-site events where they're like, "Can you turn that down, please? Please shut that camera off. What's wrong with that fan?" All right. So depending upon where the cameras are in these on-site events, I will probably turn them down to 1080p because of that darn fan. Right? Maybe they can install some liquid cooling. I don't know. But yeah, so let's take a look here. So this one here, let's just change this to okay, so this lens here, or video source here, this is the USB connection. And let's do this. Let's do a side by side. Do. Come on. All right. And so now let's change the right one over to the HDMI signal. Okay. You see the color difference though? Did you see that switch? Look at the video on the right and look at the color of my skin on there. I'm going to switch it to USB, and then I'm going to switch it over to HDMI. Did you see the contrast increased, and the curtain in the black is a lot more black? Let me just see if there's a reason why I did that. I don't have any settings here. No, I have nothing on that. 4K 60, it's still running at 60 frames per second. So that's interesting. I wonder if the Elgato somewhere along the line ended up switching or changing the signal coming in. Because I'm going to say that the video on the left side is the actual native video coming from the camera, because that's camera directly coming into my Mac. The one on the right side is the Elgato HD60S. So that there is some sort of processing that's happening on there, right? So I am wondering why? What did it do, Elgato? But anyway, it still looks pretty good, I've got to say. So if I was going to go and edit that camera on the right, I would go into the software. I'm not going to show you the software because I want to be able to show you this difference, right? I'm going to go into the software and I would go into, let's see, can I change the contrast? Zoom, focus, ISO. Interesting. Is it the white balance? No. If I disable HSL, hue, saturation, maybe it was the saturation settings, something in there. But anyway, if you change obviously between USB and the other one, you're going to notice it's going to come off a little bit funky. All right. Boom. And that's really close, isn't it? Let's go back to the front camera. And now she's all zoomed in. Because, all right, I'm going to switch this back to, oh, that's why it's cropped. Can I reset the crop? Reset the crop. And reset the fill the canvas. Ooh, very nice. I love these new settings inside of Ecamm. Have you guys seen these new settings inside of Ecamm? Take a look. So you know that this is a camera overlay, right? If I hold down the Option key and I do a crop, right, it it allows me to just, move in those sides and do whatever I want to do to it. But in order previously, oh, by the way, this is beta, so this might not be available in the current option. Just letting you know that this is going to come soon. What you can do is you can right click and say reset the crop. And I think it's available on the current version, but you can also say resize to fill the canvas. And then boom, it's all set. That's kind of neat. That's kind of fun. Let's see. Bose Promo TV Wi-Fi antenna. Okay, so you are using that. Now, question for you. You're using Wi-Fi antenna, so you're obviously, are you using, what is it called? The IP or using NDI? I'm curious because I tried the Wi-Fi side on NDI and it didn't get so good, right? I'd buy 2 of your tail 2s, but post not only are your tail 2s twice the price in Australia, the postage will be another 1x times for the insurance alone. But yeah, how are you connecting that? Because I don't get very good results using NDI over the Wi-Fi signal unless maybe 1080p is the reason, because I'm not a 1080p fan, unfortunately. I like the 4K crispness and I like running it at 4K. And then even if I'm having a 1080p production, which most of my normal productions are, then I will just like the sharpness on it. So you're using NDI. What are you bringing it into? Are you bringing it into vMix, a hardware switcher? Like what are you bringing that into? And I'm going to be playing around with other different switchers as well. Like Ecamm is my software favorite. I don't want to bring out my Windows computer system that is just collecting dust in the corner there. There's no power. I did not plug it in. I'm not using it. And it's worth like $7,000 because the price of memory just skyrocketed around the world about a year and a bit ago, right? But I mean, I might resurrect it and start to show vMix around, but Ecamm is my favorite. I love using Ecamm. I've told people to switch over to Ecamm a lot, which is really, really cool. Super easy to use. And then what I do is bring NDI in over Ethernet. And I've always used Ethernet just because I've never had good success with NDI over Wi-Fi, Actually, not much success using Wi-Fi, to be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of that either. But one cool thing is I'm on a testing team with OBSBot, and they have a new device coming out. Now, I can tell you what it is, and I'm not breaking any of my NDAs because the videos are already published, and they already talked about it publicly. But you've got the Director Mini. That's awesome. So you obviously know the Director Mini or the Director whatever is very similar to the OBSBot Talent. Right. And so they have a new one. If you search the OBSBot Talent 2, you'll find that it was at, was it CES or one of those different conventions that were just in the past couple of months, but they launched the Talent 2. And so I'm on that testing team and have been having a great time with the device, testing it out, different types of hardware, different types of apps and software. And I got to say, I really like it. It's a darn good device. Now, is it perfect? Not quite yet. But it's very, very good and quite reliable in most ways. And one of the cool things about that device is that, what's up, Jeremy? Is that you can connect your OBSBot cameras directly to the Talent 2. And we have been having a blast connecting the Tail 2 directly to it. And you can control all of the settings on the camera as well natively on the Talent 2. So it's really, really cool, really, really fun. Let's see. There is a question here. In your workflow, are you using NDI only or do you combine NDI with HDMI? If you are, how are you handling audio and video out of sync? All right. Really, 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 really good question. I wish that we could adjust video signal timing, but we have to understand that that's possible, but with hardware that costs 5 figures and up, right? It's very possible. The problem is that doing that inside of software on a computer system like Ecamm or any even different types of hardware, you've got to have multiple encoders. And that really is very hard on the GPUs and the CPUs of these systems. So unfortunately, the video is going to be the video. That's just the way it is. The audio you can play around with. And so what if you're dealing with any of these out of sync issues, there's multiple, technically, there's really only one way to handle that, and it's just you kind of average it in the middle, right? You average your audio delay into the middle between the two. For me, I've seen that NDI and HDMI, my NDI is not a huge delay, to be honest with you. Like, as I said, this camera's coming in on NDI right now, and I've got 0 milliseconds delay on the audio. So let's see here. I've got my audio. Oh, sorry. Oh, because I'm using the Rodecaster Pro 2. I've got 3 frames delay, right? So that 3 frames delay is supposedly perfectly synced for HDMI video. But if you remember my video here, that is that one. So this one here is going to be, this is NDI. And the right one will be HDMI. All right, so you can see here that my HDMI signal is faster. So if that's, let's say, I mean, I don't have a clock to tell you exactly how many milliseconds difference that is, but it's definitely faster, the HDMI signal. So if that's the case, my Rodecaster Pro, I might put at 1 or 2 frames delay. All right, that will help me to just average it out between the two, because to be honest with you, I'm going to say mostly 2 frames, you're not going to see the difference. Now, it also depends on the device that you're using. You may have you know, the hardware, for example, like the Talent and the Magewells and stuff like that. They don't use frames; they use milliseconds. So whatever the math is on that one, honestly I don't know the math on it, but you will have to adjust that in the middle. That's pretty much all you can do. I wish there was something else we could do that could dynamically switch it, but not at the levels that we're playing at. You've got to definitely get hardware that's tens of thousands of dollars. All right, so really, really good question. Let's see, what's my boy Jeremy say here? Played with the Rodecaster video and the Tail 2 PTZ yet? I have not. The Rodecaster video is actually sitting in the box still. I've had a lot of personal challenges recently, with a lot of family challenges as our parents get older. Does anybody else have any aging parents? It can get really tough at some times, and I have 2 parents on my side and 2 on my wife's side, and it's definitely been more of a struggle recently, to the point of, and I said at the beginning of today's live streams, like, this is long overdue video for the Yololiv S7, and unfortunately it's been a delay because of many different things, and I've just got to get things back on track and back on gear. So yeah, Greg, your dad's 88. Wow, man. Yeah, for sure. George, you've been there. Daniel, be strong. Yeah, thank you, man. It's honestly, it's a struggle, man. It's a struggle to continue to do that. And especially, I mean, I'm self-employed, so I have the ability to have some flexibility in time, but it also means when I don't do stuff, I don't get money either, right? And so that's definitely a big challenge. But and then if you have a job, 9 to 5 or Monday to Friday, you got to take some time off. That's even worse, because you might get fired. You might get, so it's really tough. I think we should just go back to olden days where we all lived with multiple families all together in the location. And then what ends up happening is we all take care of each other, right? We got to take care of all the generations. So I would love something like that. Let's see, Jeremy, it's all good, dude. Got parents up there too. I can nerd out for you. Just can't cough up the coin for a Tail 2 yet. Soon, my friend. Guys, if you love airplanes, if you love flight and stuff like that, like, you got to check out Jeremy's channel. He goes live all the time, and I'm just like watching, and I'm like, if I just had popcorn, I'd be eating it and just watching all the planes coming in and out. Unfortunately, he's on the West Coast, so all I see is planes coming from Vancouver. Not too much from YYZ, unfortunately. But anyway, enough about me and the struggles and challenges. Everything's on the up and up. And what I wanted to also share with you guys is like, hey, listen, a lot of us go through some tech challenges, right? Forget about the family challenges. That stuff happens, okay? We're all probably in that age where our parents are getting older. It's just the way it works, right? But in terms of the technology side of things, what I found myself, thankfully, is to be able to tinker and play and navigate the world of technology and software for a very long time. And troubleshooting is one of my superpowers. And so that's what I'm going to be doing on this live show every single week. So if you guys have, a technology roadblock, right, then let me know on this live stream. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, I'll be live here. Man, I don't even know what time it's in Australia. Maybe 12 hours, the opposite side. So maybe it's the first thing in the morning. But I want you to take the time, join me on these live calls and ask me those questions, because that's where I'm going to do it on this live call. However, if you want to be able to have access to me on almost on a daily basis, I did start up a recent community called Creator Tech Lab. Now, Creator Tech Lab is something that I've wanted to do for a very long time, and it is a membership, so you are paying for it. However, you're getting a lot of information and a lot of value for it. And so not only do you get access to me, you also get access to a bunch of other really skilled people who are continuously coming into the group. It's not very big right now. We've got like 7 or 8 of us inside of the group, but it's going to be continuously growing. So not only do you get access to myself to help you to troubleshoot, to help you to do those things, not only do you get access to live calls inside of that community, which are only for that community, where we'll learn some new things. We'll actually learn from guests that are coming in. And this isn't just the regular people that you guys have seen inside of this circle that we all are probably very familiar with. I'm actually going outside of that circle and bringing in a lot of my friends and contacts from other organizations and companies who can definitely provide more information to you so that you can find out a little bit more and a little bit more and absorb more information and see what might be a next for you, right? So it's going to be hardware companies, software companies, AI people, experts, and all that type of stuff as well that'll be bringing in on a regular basis. In addition to that, you are also going to get courses, right? So I have created multiple courses in my lifespan of content creatorship, but the big 3 are some ones that really have made a huge impact to individuals. Of course, all my other courses have, but these ones are really, really good for the creator side of things. And so one course is called the Virtual Event Blueprint, which is essentially a framework that gives you the information and the step-by-step instructions on what you need to do to create a live virtual event. So it's not just about, hey, join me on Zoom and go here, or join me on YouTube and go here. It's not just about that, right? It's about the systems that you put in place, all the landing pages, the email reminders, all that stuff. That's inside of Virtual Event Blueprint. The next one above that is called Live Producer Playbook. And that was a multi-day live training that I did a little while back that goes into all the nooks and crannies of live production using Ecamm and Zoom. And so if you are either looking to level up, trying to figure out how to troubleshoot some problems that you're dealing with on your live streams or your live productions over Zoom and Zoom meetings, then that event itself is actually great for you. I think it's probably about 5 to 7 hours worth of content right there alone. And then the third one was a recent live event that I had done, which I did originally at no charge, and now it's all paid. And it's only available inside of this membership. And that's called the Ecamm Audio Workshop. And that is, I want to say 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours worth of training. And it's all about audio. Not only just that, but it's all about audio and troubleshooting inside of Ecamm and inside of Zoom. So if you've been struggling with your audio, you're hearing echoes, you're getting a lot of feedback, or you just don't understand what kind of microphone you need, or there's problems, getting your audio working properly, then definitely that audio workshop is for you, because I dive deep into understanding microphone technologies, which one is best for your use case, as well as the troubleshooting side. And then troubleshooting for sure on the different types of problems that people experience with regards to audio. So whether it's the timing issue that you were talking about earlier, or whether it's an echo issue, or whether it's a combing audio where it sounds like a robot, right? Like one of my best friends has a Mixcast, Tascam Mixcast, and every time he gets on Zoom, all I hear is this robotic voice. I'm like, dude, what's going on? And there's this one setting. Now, I haven't troubleshot it with him one-on-one just yet, but I have a feeling I know what the challenge is. But that's the type of stuff that you get inside of Creator Tech Lab. And in addition to all of that stuff, I'm going to be creating more courses and more courses and more courses all the time. And that's included in your membership. So in terms of, where did I go here? In terms of that, it's going here. Oops. You go to creatortechlab.com. It's on school. And right now it's starting at $67. It's $67 a month until the end of August the 31st. Once the calendar hits September 1st, and I believe it might be Eastern time, once the calendar hits September 1st Eastern time, then the price goes up to $97. And it's just going to stay at $97 until I decide to increase it again. But once you're locked in at $67, you're locked in for the life of that active subscription. So as long as you're staying active, then you get to keep the $67. If you decide to leave and then you decide to come back, it does jump up to whatever the then current price is. So this community already is growing. We've got six. Don't do that, Jeremy. Do not go there, Jeremy, my friend. Oh, that is so annoying. Okay. But anyway, so what's cool about the courses is that I'll be covering many different topics about content creation. So this is Creator Tech Lab is not just for content creators who are just recording content or recording courses. It's for people who record content only, people who are doing courses and course creation. It's for live streamers. It's for podcasters. It's for anybody who's doing stuff on video, right? And using especially Ecamm. Now, I may very likely dive into other different types of video switching hardware as well as software. But at the current moment, I'm going to be keeping it mostly Ecamm focused. And then over the next couple of months, I'm going to start really helping people with the Blackmagic series of ATEMs, as well as the Rodecaster series with Rode, because I did just recently start up a partnership with them where I'm going to be teaching people all about the Rodecaster Pro 2, as well as the Rodecaster Duo, the how to use it from the, the nuts and bolts from the beginnings to all of the advanced stuff as well. So I'm working on that content for Rode right now, and then we're going to be introducing and talking more about a lot of their other devices. Like I've got a ton of different wireless microphones that I've got to talk about, and also the Rodecaster video series. So how to use that and how to really use the advanced levels of that as well. So that's really cool. Special discount for Australians. Unfortunately, no, there's no special discount for Australians. It is in US dollars. Listen, man, I'm from Canada and my dollar's worse than yours. So I totally hear you. I'm not saying, ooh, feel bad for me. I'm just saying I totally hear you. It is US dollars, but you get locked in. You get locked in at 67 US. So dude, I totally feel you, man. And I wish that school did allow us to do, different levels, but it doesn't. So it's 67 US dollars locked in for the time of your active membership. Now, going back in terms of the courses, I don't really, I've got a ton of different course topics that I've already recorded and that I can record. But I'm going to let you guys choose that. So once I have a smallish amount of people inside of that group, then I'm going to say, hey, I want you to vote on these courses. Which one do you want next? Because I don't want to create content because I think it's going to be working for you. I want to create content that you need right now, and we'll hold that to a vote. So it'll be the first one, second one, and maybe even the third one, and then I'll do them in that order. Now, each of the courses, depending upon how long they are, they may be released every 30 days, and some of the really long ones will probably be released on a kind of like a 60-day window. But those are just the courses itself. Aside from that, it's about all of the live streams. It's about all those private live meetings and calls that we do with each other, to develop community, to talk about our wins, to talk about our challenges, to talk about the tech problems that we're dealing with. I'm also going to probably go into some sales and marketing as well. Now, I don't know how much you guys know of me and my past, but I've developed several very successful businesses, and I've also lost a lot of money on different types of businesses as well. But one of my businesses made over $12 to $15 million in about a 10-year span, and so I share that not to boast or brag or whatever, to say that I'm better or not or whatever than you, or it doesn't. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is I understand sales and marketing. And I understand what works and what doesn't work. And I understand also how to do that on the internet, right? So I just wanted to share that with you, and also the experience that I have with helping with different organizations that are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8-figure organizations. When I mean 8-figure, I mean 10 million and above on an annual basis, right? I work with a lot of those different types of companies as well, and I get a little bit of the background scene on how those companies operate, what they do, what works best, what doesn't work. So these are the different types of things that I'll be sharing inside of that community as well. Obviously, of course, not the secret stuff, but the stuff that I'm allowed to share because it's general public knowledge, but we just figured out how to incorporate that into some of your businesses, right? Let me know in the comments right now, like, are you guys jobbed? Do you have a job? So if you have a job, put JOB. If you're retired, put retired. Or if you're self-employed, put self-employed in the comments. I'd really love to know what your status is on the way that you make money, because that's actually really interesting to me. All right, George says job. All right, let me go to my comments. So George says job. Who else? Who else is on this stream? I know that Greg, I'm not sure if you're still there, but Greg, I know you just recently retired, my friend. All right. Okay, so self-employed. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Jeremy's got the JOB, right? If you want to be with me. Yeah, Jeremy's got a cool job. I'm going to just tell you right now. Boy works for Apple, and that's fun, all right? Greg is recently retired. So it's not even retired with a capital R. It's still a tiny little R because it's just retired. I want to say it's like a week, if I remember correctly, right, Greg? But yeah, so we've got a good mix of people who are self-employed, people who are retired, as well as people who've got the job, the JOB side of things. And none of them is wrong. None of them is better than the others. They're just different, right? And so what I want to do with Creator Tech Lab is to help you from that technical and systems side of things to help you grow yourself into into a place where the content that you create can maybe supplement your income, whether it's that self-employed or the job, or maybe the retired side of things, right? And then you've got a pension. I want to help you offline, not offline, excuse me. I want to help you online with your technology side of things so that you can just get past all of those hurdles. So I want you to go down here to Creator Tech Lab. And what's great about this right now is I am doing a 7-day free trial. So you can join the community, talk as much as you want or as little as you want for 7 full days. And there's no obligations. All you have to do is, if you don't want it and it's not for you, you can still watch all of the training programs in the 7 days. And if you're like, sayonara, it's not worth it for me, it's a few clicks. I want to say 2 or maybe 3 or 4 clicks to cancel your subscription. And it's like, listen, I'm not going to be heartbroken if you leave, but I'll say, hey, listen, if and ever you want to come back, go ahead and join us. Or at the most, or at the least, whatever, just join me on the live streams, because I'd love to see your names come across my comment screen, right? And if you guys have any friends or contacts who are dealing with technical problems from the content creation side of things, I want to get you to invite them to this Tuesday live stream where I'm going to be talking, I'm going to be answering questions. No matter what you have, I'm going to answer those questions on this live stream. So go ahead and invite them to this live stream. You can just basically subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification, or you can go to the youtube.com/@DanielChi/live, and that will always bring you to the most recent live stream that I have published. All right, everybody. So thank you all for joining me this evening or late afternoon or early morning for my Australian friends. If you guys have any questions at any time, go ahead and make sure you add some comments to the replay below, and I will see you guys later. Take care. See ya.
One small room and a light on the wall. Told myself waiting for permission. Turn the fear into ignition.